What is up? What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Check this out. Check this out. Hey, a buddy of mine just sent me this joint right here. What really happened at Diddy's mansion during the LA fires will shock you. What happened? Ain't nothing happened at the mansions. Diddy in jail. So, man, we haven't covered anything about the fires and stuff yet, so I thought I would start off with this one right here since somebody said, do this one, Mike, do this one, Uncle Mike. Uncle Mike, do this one. So, I'm hoping everybody's okay, man, but I'm hearing a lot of things about these fires. They ain't got no water. They done turned the water off. The water pressure is real low in the certain areas with these houses being caught on fire. Is somebody setting the fires? I don't know, man. I've been covering a lot of Ali Carter stuff and the case. Jay-Z. Puffy got another case on him, y'all. Just we covered that also. Puffy got another case on him. But anyway, check this out, man. Conqueror Soul. Shout out to Conqueror Soul, because this is coming off his channel right here. So y'all hit that subscribe button and y'all hit that bell. Let's check this bad boy out, see what's going on. Let's check it out, y'all. Here we go.
When a firefighter, my stance on this is when a firefighter comes up to a hydrant, we expect there's going to be water. We don't control the water supply. Our firefighters are there to protect lives and property and to make sure that we're properly trained and equipped. That's my position on this. So if there's no water, I don't know how the water gets to the hydrants.
It's been a few hours since I left Diddy's house, and my hands are still shaking. I can't stop replaying everything in my mind. The fire,
water pressure,
the chaos, the things I saw, and the things I didn't understand. I used to believe this world was mostly good, that people deep down wanted to do the right thing. But tonight,
me too,
that belief was shattered. What happened at Diddy's house was something I never expected, something that still doesn't make sense. It's not every day you respond to a call only to find yourself in the middle of a nightmare that feels impossible to wake up from. I thought I was going to a routine fire, another job, another house in need of saving. But what I walked into tonight, it was so much worse than I could have ever imagined. It started earlier today at the station. We'd just come back from battling a massive fire over in LA. It was one of those fires that leaves you drained, body and soul. Even though some areas were still smoldering, the worst of it was finally under control, and we got a much-needed break. The air in the station was lighter, calmer. It was just me and a few co-workers hanging around, swapping jokes, going through the motions of a quiet shift. That kind of normalcy after chaos is rare, and we were soaking it in.
Hey guys, Uncle Mike here with big news. YouTube has changed my life, and now it's your turn. See, Uncle Mike was tired of being broke after every payday. So I decided to do something about it. So I invested over about $9,000 in YouTube courses and online coaching. Man, I was determined to change. But guess what? None of these systems gave me the one-on-one coaching that I needed. So I created my own YouTube course with the help that you need to make sure that you succeed. If you're ready to learn and you're not afraid to put in the work, you too can make a real change. Sign up now and Uncle Mike will send you the 4 videos that got me started. 100% free. Click the word more below and look for our YouTube growth system. That's our course. Now, let's get back to this video.
And then the call came in. A fire at a massive estate on the edge of town. The address caught my eye immediately. Diddy's house. Yeah, that Diddy. You didn't have to know him personally to know who he was. Everyone did. The guy was larger than life. Huge parties, flashy cars, a lifestyle that most people could only dream or gossip about. But there were always whispers, the kind of rumors you don't want to believe but can't ignore. Stories about what went on behind those high gates, what was real and what was exaggeration. I couldn't tell you. All I knew for sure was that there was a fire, and it was my job to stop it. In those moments, you don't think too deeply. You just move, gear up, load up, head out. That's the job. But something about this call felt different. Maybe it was the tension in the air, the way my coworkers exchanged glances as we rolled out. Or maybe it was the way the dispatcher's voice had sounded, too calm, too rehearsed. Whatever it was, it left a knot in my stomach. One I tried to ignore as we drove toward the mansion. When we arrived, I felt my stomach twist. It was too quiet. The house stood there, massive and silent. Not a hint of smoke or flames. Nothing about it suggested there was an emergency. It looked like it was waiting for something, and that calm, that stillness, it wasn't normal. It was the kind of calm that makes your instincts scream that something's wrong. I double-checked the address and asked my team, "Are we at the right place?" They nodded, but the looks on their faces told me they were just as confused as I was. That's when I spotted my supervisor standing near the gate. Clipboard in hand, he watched us pull up with this strange, detached expression. It wasn't the kind of look you expect at the scene of an emergency. It was like he already knew what was coming.
What?
I climbed out of the truck and went straight to him. "There's no fire here," I said, trying to make sense of the situation. "What's going on?" He didn't flinch. He just looked at me and said, "The fire's about to start." I froze. Those words didn't make any sense. And the way he said them, it wasn't a warning. It wasn't even concern. It was like a statement of fact, delivered so calmly it sent a chill through me. "What do you mean, about to start?" "There's nothing here," I said, my voice rising. He didn't answer. He just gave me this knowing look, like he was waiting for me to understand something I couldn't yet see. Before I could press him further, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, and what I saw made my blood run cold. A group of men was walking toward the house, their faces hard, their movements deliberate. They weren't dressed like staff or homeowners. They looked like trouble, the kind of guys you'd avoid if you saw them coming down a dark alley. Each one carried a large container, and as they got closer, the smell of oil hit me like a wave. The men walked straight into the mansion, their movements calm and deliberate. Meanwhile, we stayed outside, watching, confused and uneasy. There were no flames, no signs of fire, just an eerie silence that hung in the air like a warning. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I turned to my supervisor and asked, "What's going on here? Are you going to fire up this mansion?" He turned to me, his expression calm but unsettling. "Are you crazy? Why would I fire up the mansion? We'd all get caught." His words didn't make me feel better. They only deepened my confusion. He wasn't denying that something was happening, just that it wasn't him who'd light the match. I pressed him further. "Then why are we here?" I asked, frustration and suspicion creeping into my voice.
Yeah, why are we here?
He hesitated for a moment, his eyes shifting to the ground as though it held the answer. Then finally he said, "The news is already out that Diddy's mansion is on fire. The minute you guys got the call, it was everywhere. We need to wrap this up fast and let the press know it was a false alarm." I froze. The news was already reporting a fire before we'd even arrived? My head spun with questions. None of this made sense. There was no fire, but somehow it was already a headline. And what did he mean by wrap this up fast? What exactly were we supposed to do here? My supervisor's eyes stayed fixed on the ground, his body tense like he was waiting for something.
What?
And then it happened. The ground began to shift beneath us. At first, it was subtle, a faint rumble that vibrated through my boots. Then, with a deep groan, the earth began to split open. Slowly, deliberately, the ground in front of us revealed a massive tunnel beneath the mansion.
What?
The tunnel was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It wasn't rough or natural. It was man-made, with smooth walls and dim lights glowing from within. It stretched far beneath the property, its purpose unknown. My breath caught in my throat as I stared at it, trying to make sense of what I was looking at. What is this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My supervisor didn't answer right away. He stared into the tunnel, his expression unreadable, before finally saying, The fire will start in there, not the mansion, under it. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. The fire was supposed to start under the mansion? What kind of place was this? And why was there a hidden tunnel beneath the estate? My mind raced with questions, but before I could speak, he cut me off. "Get in the truck," he said, his tone firm and final. "Drive in. I'll meet you inside. The guys who went in earlier will guide you where you need to go."
Wow.
I blinked, trying to process what he was asking me to do. Drive into the tunnel, into this underground, whatever it was. My instinct screamed at me to refuse, to demand answers, to run. But his tone left no room for argument. Slowly, reluctantly, I climbed into the truck, my hands trembling as I gripped the steering wheel. As I started the engine, I glanced back at my supervisor one last time. He stood by the edge of the tunnel, staring into the darkness like it held secrets only he knew. Whatever was happening here, it was bigger than anything I could have imagined, and I was about to drive straight into the heart of it. When I drove into the mansion's tunnel, the air inside the truck felt heavy. My team, usually talkative even in tense situations, was silent. They just stared ahead, their expressions blank, as if they couldn't or wouldn't process what we were seeing. The guy guiding us walked ahead confidently, signaling where to turn, leading us deeper and deeper into this underground maze. And calling it a tunnel didn't feel right. It wasn't rough or dark like you'd expect. It was surreal. Almost like stepping into another world.
Calling it
the
a
walls
tunnel?
were smooth and glowed faintly, and the space stretched on in ways that didn't make sense. It felt like something out of a movie, so vast, so meticulously constructed, that it was impossible to believe it existed beneath a mansion. My thoughts were racing. Who built this? Why was it here? And what were we even doing in a place like this? Eventually, we came to a stop outside a small room. The guy guiding us gestured for us to get out. My legs felt like they were moving on their own as I followed him. When we stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was how unassuming the room looked. At first, it was small, cluttered with boxes, papers, and symbols etched into the walls that I couldn't understand. But then my eyes landed on the photos. Pictures of Diddy with celebrities, some of the most recognizable faces in the world. At first, I thought they were just publicity shots, the kind of images anyone could find online. But something about them felt off. The way they were arranged, the moments they captured. It was like they weren't meant for the public eye. Like they held meanings I couldn't quite grasp. Before I could take a closer look, the men who'd guided us here moved in. They began splashing oil over everything in the room, on the walls, the boxes, the pictures, the symbols. The smell was overwhelming, and my mind reeled. What were they doing? Why were they destroying all of this? As I stood there, frozen, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned, and there was my supervisor, standing close, his face calm as ever. He gestured around the room and said, "You see this? This room, we're burning it, and nothing else." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Why?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Why are you burning this?" He stared at me for a moment, like he was trying to decide how much to tell me. Then he said, "Let's just say this room has things that it's not supposed to have." I didn't know what to say to that. My eyes darted back to the pictures, the symbols, the stacks of boxes. I wanted to ask what it all meant, but before I could, he spoke again. "Don't worry about the media," he said, his voice casual, like this was just another day on the job. "The police already made it clear. There are no tunnels under Diddy's mansion, so we're safe. No one will know." I blinked, stunned. "But what about online? People are going to talk," I said, grasping at anything that made sense. He gave me a small, almost amused smile. "The online world? They're all dumb. They'll argue themselves into circles. One side will swear there are tunnels. The other side will say there aren't. It'll all just get buried under conspiracies. And anyone who matters, anyone with even a shred of fame or importance, they'll keep quiet. They know better than to question things. It's easier to follow what they say. The way he said they sent a chill down my spine. Who's they? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. But before he could answer, one of the men struck a match. The fire roared to life in the room, consuming everything. The photos, the boxes, the strange symbols. My supervisor turned back to me, a glint in his eye, and gave me a wink. "Let's get to work," he said, his voice calm, almost playful. I stood there, stunned, my mind reeling from everything he just said. Who was he talking about? Who were they? And how could he be so casual about all of this, as if it were nothing more than business as usual? The fire crackled and grew, casting long
My bad.
shadows on
Wait a minute. Hold on. I messed up the flow, man. My bad. That's my bad.
His eye, and gave me a wink.
They just pictures.
"Let's get to work," he said, his voice calm, almost playful. I stood there, stunned, my mind reeling from everything he just said. Who was he talking about? Who were they? And how could he be so casual about all of this, as if it were nothing more than business as usual? The fire crackled and grew, casting long shadows on the walls, and for a moment I felt like I was standing in the middle of something far bigger than I could comprehend. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a fire. It wasn't just a call. It was something darker, something I couldn't unsee no matter how much I wanted to. But right now, there wasn't time to think. The fire was spreading fast, consuming everything in the room. Whatever my supervisor's reasons, we had a job to do. My team quickly got to work, setting up the hose and getting everything in place to douse the flames. It should have been routine. We've done this 100 times before, but tonight was different. As soon as we were ready, my teammate gave the signal and pulled the lever to start the water flow. But nothing happened. No water. We all froze for a second, then sprang into action, checking the connections, the pressure, the valves, everything. It was all set up perfectly. There was no reason for it not to work. Yet, no matter what we did, no water came out.
Whoa.
Seconds felt like hours. The fire was raging, the heat pressing against us, and all we could do was stand there helpless. My teammate tried again and again, pulling the lever, but the hose remained dry. The tension in the room was suffocating. My heart pounded as I glanced at the fire, at the ashes building up where the boxes and papers had been, and at my supervisor, who stood watching us with an unreadable expression. And then, out of nowhere, the water came to life. It burst from the hose with so much force it startled all of us. We didn't waste a second. My team jumped into action, spraying the fire, working quickly to control the flames before they could spread. The sound of the water hitting the fire was deafening, a rush of steam and smoke filling the small room. After what felt like an eternity, the fire finally died down. The flames flickered out, leaving behind a strange, heavy silence. My team lowered the hose, their faces exhausted and confused. We looked at each other, unsure of what had just happened, unsure of what to say. Slowly, I stepped into the room to assess the damage. What had been piles of papers, boxes, and photographs was now nothing but ashes. The fire had consumed everything, leaving no trace of what had been there before. The walls were scorched black, the floor covered in a fine layer of soot. It was as if the room had been wiped clean, erased. I stood there, staring at the ashes, my mind racing. Whatever secrets this room held, they were gone now, reduced to nothing but smoke and dust. My supervisor walked up beside me, his calm demeanor unshaken, and glanced at the scene. "Job well done," he said, his tone almost casual, as if what we'd just done was nothing out of the ordinary. But it wasn't ordinary. None of this was. And as much as I wanted answers, I knew I wouldn't get them. Not tonight. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. Not for me. As the smoke cleared and the ashes settled, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I turned to my supervisor, my voice sharp and filled with frustration. Who was this even for? Why did they burn this room? What's the point of all this? He looked at me with that same calm, unreadable expression and said, "Oh, it's because Diddy might use this information. It's better if it's gone." I stared at him, my mind spinning. What if I tell someone? What if I tell everyone what happened here?
They won't believe you.
He smirked, the kind of smirk that made my skin crawl. "Go ahead," he said casually. "Tell the whole world. No one will believe you. And if you get too close to the truth, they'll make sure the world believes you're mental." His words sent a chill through me. The way he said it wasn't a threat. It was a fact, as if it was just the way things worked. I wanted to press him, to demand answers, but something in his tone told me I wouldn't get them. Still, I couldn't let it go. "Who's behind all of this?" I asked, my voice quieter now, more cautious. He paused for a moment, as if deciding how much to tell me. Then he said, "That's one thing even I don't know, but it's for the big boss." "Big boss?" I repeated, confused. "Who's that?" His gaze shifted, his tone growing more serious. "He's ahead of everyone, the president, the judges, the police, anything you can think of. Whatever he wants, that's how it goes. And all this, they're just preparing the path for him." I couldn't wrap my head around what he was saying. A person who could control everything. Someone above the highest authorities in the world? It sounded impossible, like something out of a conspiracy theory. But the way my supervisor spoke so matter-of-factly made it clear he believed every word. He looked at his watch and straightened up. "We need to get out of here," he said, "before they start questioning." I wanted to ask who they were, but I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't going to answer. Instead, I followed him back to the truck, my mind racing with questions I couldn't even begin to process. When we got back to the station, the weight of what had happened hit me all at once. I sat there in silence, staring at nothing, replaying his words over and over in my head. Who was this big boss? How could someone be ahead of everything, above the president, the law, even the media? And how could a secret so massive be hidden in plain sight, buried beneath the chaos of a false fire call? I felt like I was teetering on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss I wasn't ready to understand. And the worst part, I wasn't sure if I ever would. I tried to push those thoughts away. I needed to escape the swirling confusion in my mind, so I did what most people do. I opened the TikTok app, hoping for some distraction. But the first thing that popped up on my feed stopped me cold. Viral posts about Diddy's mansion, videos with dramatic headlines, clips claiming the mansion had been destroyed, and threads dissecting what had really happened. The posts had thousands of likes and even more comments. I couldn't help myself. I started reading, and that's when it hit me. What my supervisor had said, as unbelievable as it sounded, was somehow playing out right in front of me. Some people were adamant that the mansion was untouched, that the reports were fake, and you could check online to see for yourself. Others claimed there was evidence, a trail of breadcrumbs pointing to something bigger. Some comments were completely outlandish, spinning theories that seemed impossible to believe, yet every thread felt connected, as if no one could agree on what was real or fake anymore. I kept scrolling, watching as people argued back and forth. It was a flood of contradictions. Some were certain Diddy's mansion had been destroyed, while others swore it was still intact. Evidence and counter-evidence piled up, each more confusing than the last. And the more I read, the more I realized the truth didn't matter anymore. All that remained was noise, opinions clashing, theories spiraling, and a growing sense that no one really knew what was going on. I leaned back, my phone still in my hand, and stared at the screen. I couldn't shake the feeling that this entire thing, the fire, the tunnel, the destruction of that room, wasn't about Diddy at all. Maybe it was just a distraction, a carefully orchestrated event designed to keep people looking in the wrong direction. Or maybe it was something else entirely. something so big and hidden that no one could ever figure it out. And that's the scariest part of all, isn't it? We live in a world where truth and lies blur together so completely that we can't tell one from the other. The lines have disappeared, leaving us in a fog where nothing is certain and everything feels like a game. It makes you wonder how much of what we see, what we hear, what we think we know is real, and how much is just smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors.
I don't know if I'll ever get the answers to what really happened that night. Maybe no one will. But one thing is clear. The world isn't what it seems. It's a place where the truth hides in plain sight, tangled up in lies, leaving us to sift through the chaos, hoping to find something real. And in the end, maybe that's the point, to keep us questioning, distracted, and unsure of what to believe. Thank you for watching. If you've ever felt like you were standing on the edge of something you couldn't quite understand, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. There are more stories like this out there, stories you won't believe are real. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.
Now, people have told me that these are just stories my man telling you, but I was going to start off the ending like this. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is here. The reason why I'm saying that is because did you all know that State Farm has canceled fire protection on a lot of people's homes? Like, I think months before this fire situation went down. Look that up. Yeah, look that up. Also, the water pressure. All of a sudden, you got water pressure problems. I'll call you back on that one. I'll call you back. And these people's houses are burning down. What are the fire? And oh my gracious, man. Y'all think about that. Aren't y'all tired? We are all tired. I know y'all got to be tired of all this bull. This bull is and it's also one thing I found out that they was talking about these fires, and there's some rich people that got out, got all their stuff out. Hey, y'all gonna burn it down? Fine. Let me get all my stuff out. Hey, I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Y'all tell him Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.